Yeah, I suppose one of the good things about this pre-season is the fact that Brendan Rodgers has been addressing a sort of burning issue from last season, and it was an issue that really got to the fans sort of the midway point of the season up until Christmas and just after Christmas, and everyone, you had the usual suspects coming out saying, "Yeah, it's Brendan ball, it's rubbish football to watch, it's side to side passing, rubbish." Now, the fact that Callum McGregor has been talking about it, he's been talking about the tactical tweaks that are set a positive sign to the squad this pre-season. We all know what happened last season and a couple of seasons before. It's they call it the low block, and let's face it, it's anti-football. It's when teams just sit back and have a back six, a back five, a back six, and they just sit back and say, "Right, Celtic, try and beat us." And Celtic were just bog teams down, and then it was rubbish to watch. And you were sitting going, yeah, it's Brendan's fault. He's passing side to side. But it's not really. It's the way that teams are setting up. And it's hard to break that down, no matter what level you're at. You play international football and a team sets up like that, it's going to be hard to break down. But ultimately, Celtic do end up breaking them down. And it seems that Brendan Rodgers has been making some tactical adjustments this pre-season against the deep line defensive setups, they're calling it. McGregor did say, "We're in a good place this pre-season. You can see the fluidity of the football is good, along with the counter press and tactical ideas." Kind of feels like we've picked off where we left off last season. When you look at the slickness of the game the other night, it's good because we really understand that the model that we now want to play under Brendan. Teams will give us different problems. We know that. Teams will have different answers. Now it's important to keep drilling home. The players are looking good and comfortable in the system, this new system. It will be interesting to see this new system when the first team comes to Celtic Park and they sit up with five at the back, and then they flood the midfield to the 18-yard box, and then just one striker just at the halfway line, and then that's it. And Celtic play 90% possession in their half. We'll see how the tactics work then. But Callum McGregor says it's all looking positive. We've got one more chance against Chelsea tomorrow night, Saturday night. Yes, and that kicks off at 10 o'clock Celtic Park time. I will be doing a live an hour and 15 minutes before. And might even do a watch along. We'll see. We never get many viewers for the watch along, and it takes a lot of time. But what I might do is just go live after the game rather than a watch along. A watch along never gets that good viewing figures. And it's me sitting for the best part of 90 minutes and more, just sitting chatting. It's rubbish. Anyway, the skipper says, hey, look, I've took Celtic to two doubles and a treble since taking over the captain's armband 3 years ago. We and I want to play more than, well, he says that he wants to play more than 55 games this season. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. He says he's never played more than 50 games in a few seasons. For one thing or the other, whether it be the fact that he had his fractured face, whether it be his hamstring. But the captain has said he wants to play more than 55. More than 55 this season. Yes. 55 will get mentioned a lot this season, and the Celtic captain wants to play more games than 55. We're going to rub the nose in 55, I think, this season, and it's going to be an exciting time of the year. Now, last night there was speculation about Celtic wanting to go for a left back on loan, but there is an issue. There is an issue with Hugo Bueno. The fact that Wolves are keen on letting him go out on loan, but the fact is that Norwich City, yes, Norwich City they've had the player on the radar for some time, and they are also looking to try and get the player. Interesting. It is interesting that they're now trying to get the player. Will Celtic get their way and get the 21-year-old Hugo Bueno to Celtic? I'm not too sure. I've seen the speculation for a couple of days now, and I'm like, we'll just leave it at that, because there's too many times this summer that we've sort of said, yeah, there's players coming, and we've been that wide off the mark that there's no use really talking about it until there is a solid offer being put in by Celtic. Now, one burning issue that we do have for the game against Chelsea on Saturday evening is the star of the game against Manchester City, the guy that scored a couple of goals, Nico Kuhn, is injured. Yes, he is injured, and we're not too sure exactly if he will make that game or not. But there has been an indication that he will be okay for the start of the season. And he did score 2 goals against Manchester City. And people were kind of hoping, is this the season that Nico Kuhn comes into his own and makes his mark on the game in Scotland? And I think that we all are hoping that he does. Before we get right back into Nico Kuhn, I think this season is going to be a momentous season. I mean, Celtic fans, including myself, I'm convinced that we're going to win the treble this season. And I think when it comes to the tail end of the season, when it comes to the season, the time of the season where Brendan Rodgers says, this is when Celtic come alive, I think Celtic will go into, and this is a prediction, and it might be a cocky ass prediction, but I think this is a prediction of mine before the season starts. When it gets to around about February, expect Celtic to hit DEFCON 5. Expect Celtic to go for the throat of 55. And by that time, hopefully, we'll have won a cup already, and we'll have our sights on the Scottish Cup. And I want us to ram it down the throat of that mob across the city more than we've ever done anything in our lives before. Celtic better get this. And I tell you one thing, we are going to make them suffer and suffer. They are going to suffer more than they have ever suffered before. If they thought that going into liquidation was bad, this is going to be worse. Now, I think the thing about Nico Kuhn and Brendan Rodgers saying he felt a lot of thing on his knee, he managed to do a full training session in the rain. And don't you think it's ionic? It's fantastic, actually. The way that the players are finishing off their tour in America and they did the training session in the absolute pissing rain, just getting them ready for coming back to Scotland, knowing what is in score for them. And you see the goalkeepers and everything covered in mud, and you could expect Callum McGregor and Greg Taylor and everybody to go to Schmeichel and say, by the way, this is what it's going to be like for the next 10 months. This is what it's going to be like for the next 6 months when we get through the season. So thank you, America. Thank you, America, for preparing us for the season. If we could do it in this pissing fucking rain in America, the absolute downpour, that'll just get used to you, like it's in Ross County and Dingwall on a Wednesday night and stuff like that, and Aberdeen on a Tuesday night and things like that during the season. And I just thought it brought a little smile to my face. I don't know if it maybe done that to you, but I thought it was quite funny. And I thought, do you know what? It's all good going away on the summer tour and the warm weather training camp, they always call it, and it gets their fitness up. But to have that training session in the piss and rain was just a little nod from the gods saying, yes, remember where you're from and remember where you're going back to. And as always, we finish on an and finally moment. Yes, bringing back the old saying from Trevor McDonald from the news from years ago, when he used to end the news on a happy note. Yes, you remember the days when they would end things on a happy note because the news is that fucking rotten and oppressive. But we continue that on the One Celtic Fans View. So, and finally, the fact that Callum McGregor is a serial winner with 22 major honours and 2 behind the one and only James Forrest, who is on 24. He has revealed that there's no secret that he treats every single trophy like it's his first. He said it's ingrained in this club. He said it is ingrained at my time at the club anyway. It's ingrained in the club to have success. But you have to celebrate every single trophy like it's the first one. Success is ingrained into Celtic. It's ingrained into the staff. It's ingrained into the coaches. And it's ingrained into the players and the supporters who demand the success on a year-on-year basis. And I think there's not been a more trying time in Celtic history where the pressure from the fans has been more than ever, has been more prominent than this to help for the success that the club has had over the last 10 to 15 years. And you could say the last 20 odd years, because really it's ever since Martin O'Neill came to the club that the success train pulled up at Celtic Park. Yes, the success train pulled up at Celtic Park, and it's not stopping. It's not stopping anytime soon. The fact that Callum McGregor wants to go and play more than 55 games this season, whilst across the road, yes, Todd Cantwell wants to leave, and he wants to run out the door. This is the man that came in and said he was coming up to a farmers league to win things, and he's just another poor excuse of a player at Ibrox that's sneaking away. They don't do walking away, they do sneaking away at the back door because of the success that Celtic have had over the last few years. And yes, during the COVID season, when there was no fans, to push on Celtic, when there was no fans at games to help Celtic get over the line, Celtic suffered. And other teams put in falsified COVID tests. Yes, other teams put in falsified COVID tests and bent the rules slightly for themselves. But ultimately, it was the fact that there was no fans. The fans of Celtic are known worldwide for the love of the club. A club that is open to all, and a club that ultimately has fans all around the world wanting and pushing this Celtic team over the line to win 55 titles. Oh, baby. It's coming home. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day. All you Celtic fans, you watching this, if you've made it to the end of this video, you especially have a fantastic day wherever you are, all around the world.